Hi, we are now going to start Chapter 4, Life in the 13 Colonies, 1650 to 1750. The small English settlements in Virginia and Massachusetts were only a beginning. By the middle of the 1700s, there were 13 separate English colonies in America. The colonists were alike in many ways. They were all ruled by Great Britain. Most of them were farmers. They grew their own food and made their own clothes. They had to learn to live with the nearby American Indians. William Penn was a colonist who made a treaty with the American Indians. A treaty is a written agreement. Penn paid them for their land and always treated them fairly. So I'm going to highlight the word treaty. That's a vocabulary word. And the definition of a treaty is a written agreement. Okay, when you see these questions, we're just going to skip over them because we're going to answer them at the end. The lives of the colonists were different in some ways too. In this chapter, you will read about the ways of life in the 13 colonies. And here's a picture of the 13 English colonies. New England colonies. In 1750, there were 4 colonies in New England. New England is in the northeast region of the United States. These colonies were Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and New Hampshire. The biggest city in New England was Boston, Massachusetts. It was a town of pretty brick houses and neat flower gardens. There were several schools and churches in Boston. Much of the land in New England was rocky and poor. Farming was hard, but off the coast of New England, the ocean waters were filled with fish. Many New Englanders made their living from the ocean. They fished and they built ships. Imagine walking around the harbor shown below. You would hear the shouts of the sailors. You would smell fish drying in the open air. Fish were caught by hand and in nets. Then they were cleaned and either smoked or dried with salt. Finally, the fish were shipped to Europe to be sold. Here is a picture of Mystic, Connecticut. Once again, we'll come back to that question later. The Middle Colonies. The Middle Colonies had rich farmlands. They also had forests full of small but important animals. This was the beaver. In Europe, beaver hats were popular. Fur trappers and traders became rich selling beaver fur to people in Europe. So now we're going to go back to the map on page 25 and look at the middle colonies. So if you look at this map, the darker colors, New England colonies, that's the middle, and then that's the southern. So we're looking for these colors. So we've got Pennsylvania, New York, Delaware, and New Jersey. So those are the 4 middle colonies at this time. William Penn started the colony of Pennsylvania. He said there was to be freedom of religion for all. All men who owned land had the right to vote. Anyone accused of a crime could have a fair trial with a jury. People came to Pennsylvania from all over Europe. Pennsylvania became a place where many different people lived together in peace. By 1750, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania was the biggest city in the middle colonies. A visitor from England wrote, "I had no idea of finding such a place in America. It has nearly 2,000 beautiful brick houses." The colony of New York grew more slowly. In New York, a few rich people owned much of the land. Workers who lived there could not own the land, so people did not want to settle in New York. Okay, we're going to stop there. We'll continue the lesson tomorrow.